Welcome to LegALLY Off the Record with guest today, Emily Hoagland / Lee. She is the sister of Emily Hoagland. She is the sister of Malinda Hoagland, who many of you have probably seen on our Facebook and or in the news. I'm going to let Emily share her story regarding her sister, but this is a trigger warning for any of you listening or watching. This case is very gruesome in detail, specifically the story of what happened to Melinda. So just putting a trigger warning out there for anybody. It does deal with child abuse, and it does deal with death of a child and extreme child abuse in many natures. So just a trigger warning for those who may be sensitive to that. Anyway, welcome, Emily. Thanks for coming on this morning. So let's give them a Cliff Note version of what happened to your sister. We don't have to go in extreme detail. If it ever gets too hard for you, just let me know and I'll pick up kind of where you left off. But let's talk about that, and then let's talk about what we're doing about it.
Sure. So my sister, Melinda Hoagland, she was 12 years old when she left Earthside. She unfortunately suffered a extremely tragic end to her life. She was tortured and abused on multiple occasions for a very lengthy amount of time. And it ultimately ended in her being starved to death and beaten to death.
Yeah, and Emily, your sister, you share a father with her, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Not a mother.
No.
So she technically, under the law, she would be considered your half-sister.
Yeah, correct.
And obviously she's much younger than you.
Much younger.
And when she was, let's start from the beginning. So when she was born, you were approximately
17.
So very big age gap.
Right.
And did you have a relationship with your father at that point?
When she was born, no. It was sort of rocky. So my father and I have always had this sort of like up and down relationship. But when she was first born, no.
No. Okay. And then sometime thereafter, you obviously met her and hung out with her and did family activities with her.
Yeah, so I had met her when she was very, very little, and then there was a bit of a gap of time that my father and I obviously needed to like work on some things in between us. And because of the age gap, I didn't have that child and child relationship with her. I always had a pretty much adult and child relationship with her. So my relationship was on the basis of my communication with my father.
Sure. And obviously, as you get older, you get married, have your own family. So you don't really, it's not a sense that you can see Melinda without your father's approval, obviously, because she's way younger than you. It's not like your other sisters who you can just call up on the phone who are much more similar in age.
Right. Correct.
And, okay, so she's growing up. You have a rocky relationship with dad. You see her sometimes not, obviously. Family, maybe birthday party, Christmas, here and there. Maybe talk to her on the phone if allowed by your father. When, if you can recall, is the last time you saw or spoke to her before, obviously, you hear about this tragic news?
Yeah, so there was like a 1.5 year span of time that my father and I actually had a really good relationship, a really organic time where we did family dinners together on a weekly basis and we did things with our kids. And when I say our kids, I mean my young kids and my sister, because that's the age gap. And that happened like 2017, 2018 until 2020. So the beginning of 2020 is the last time I saw my sister, and that was the last time I saw my dad.
Okay, and during 2017 to 2020, and you're doing your weekly dinners, obviously Melinda appears to be a normal-looking child, playing with your young kids, no red flags, dad's bringing her to dinner, she's eating dinner, she's playing, she's doing normal kid shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And dad is completely not showing any signs of weird behavior or, anything that would cause you, Emily, to be like, what the hell's going on here?
No, that was the best relationship I had ever had with my father.
Okay. And so during this time that you're hanging out 2017 to 2020 with your dad and your sister, Melinda's biological mother they're separated.
This was when they were getting separated.
They were getting separated. So
Yeah.
bio mom was not coming to your house for dinner, I'm assuming.
In the beginning, she was.
Okay, she was.
Yeah, we had a very present relationship. We were involved in each other's lives. It was then when my father and her split but I was very present for all of that. That's when they parted ways.
Sure. And obviously your father and Melinda would continue coming to your house, but she would not.
Correct.
Okay. So very normal breakup relationship that we see, in my office every 5 minutes. All right. So then 2020 comes around. Something happens with you and your father. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But you cease speaking to him.
Yes.
Okay. And you, at that point, find out, I'm assuming, and correct me because you know more than me, that he's in a relationship with Miss Cindy Warren.
Yes, that is the end.
Okay. And that is the reason, I assume, or one of the reasons that you say, Dad, we're done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so that was not on my terms.
Oh, okay.
That was on him and Cindy's terms. I had met Cindy and I had gone to her house and I tried to grow that relationship. Being my dad's oldest adult daughter, I was still doing things like trying to plan family dinners and did Christmas presents for Cindy and her child, who I had never met at this point, just trying to continue that healthy relationship that I had finally had with my father. And when I had noticed that things were not quote unquote normal, I was like, listen, something is not right. And I was told, like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. See your way out.
Okay. And when you say not normal, I don't want the viewers to think that you witnessed abuse and just said, forget it.
No. I just witnessed I would classify myself as a strict parent, and there were just like things that I just didn't agree with, like staying up all night and doing things that like
different parenting.
Right, yeah. We had different parenting styles that I had not agreed with, and I knew the background of his new fresh girlfriend, and I was like, it made me uncomfortable, and I said that.
Okay. And real quick, for those of you who are just listening, I know a lot of people have heard this story before because, we talk about it all the time. But Cindy Warren is not bio mom. Cindy Warren is dad's girlfriend. I just want to be clear about that. Cindy Warren's background that Emily's referring to, and if you want to say it, she was in prison once before for abuse of a child, her own child, and she was let out of prison and now around Melinda, who's Emily's sister, and Emily's children until this abruption happened. And I think Emily's saying to you guys is that she didn't like that, or it made her uncomfortable, and she brought it to her father's attention, but because dad was dating her, it was sort of like, you're going to like her or get the fuck out of here, is what I'm gathering.
It was exactly that.
Yes. And I think Emily said, no. I mean, she's abusing a kid. She did abuse a kid. She pled guilty to that. And she served 7 years? Or sentence was 7?
She was sentenced to 7, but I think she served like less than 2 years. But there were 2 children. There was abuse of a child, and then there was also a death of a child. That was not hers. That was also like it was her husband at the time's daughter. So there was a death of the daughter, and then when they investigated that and came to the house, they found a child that was very obviously abused. And that's when both her and her husband at the time were taken into custody.
And her husband at the time is still incarcerated for that.
Yeah. And I feel weird saying husband at the time because they're still legally married.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And he's still incarcerated for that, guys.
He is.
She testified against him to get out early. Okay, so that happens in 2020. And then we hear nothing until the abruption, shall I say it? Okay, so 2024, May, Emily gets a call. You can explain it if you want. I don't know if it's too difficult for you, but about her sister's death. And again, you can say it if you want, but if it's too much, just
I mean, I got a phone call at 5:00 in the morning from my paternal grandfather who said, your sister died in a bicycle crash.
And I'm sure getting that phone call was, again, you know nothing at this point about the actual facts of the case. So you're like, holy shit, my sister's dead, shell-shocked. And I would assume, knowing you pretty well, that your red flags of Cindy Warren are immediately going off.
Correct. Yeah, I don't clearly remember a lot of that. And a lot of that I had to collect information from my husband, who was next to me in bed that early morning when I got the phone call, who said, you just started screaming that this had something to do with Cindy.
Okay. And so you immediately are like screaming, shell-shocked, and I know some of it probably blackout because of the trauma. Do you, if you can remember, then call your other older sisters? I think that's what you told me.
Yeah. So my first instinct was I need to get a hold of them. And because I'm the oldest, I sort of like assume this mom role when it comes to them. And I'm like, I need to get them here now. I need to get them under my roof. I need to be the one to tell them this. I need to do this. So I'm frantically calling them, and no one's answering because, again, it's 5:00 in the morning. And nobody has planned for this, so nobody is alarm set. But at the same time, my paternal grandfather is also trying to get a hold of them. I contact somebody who is living in my sister's home, and I'm like, you need to wake her up now. She needs to be awake. Unfortunately, my other sister lives in Harrisburg, and I can't get to her house. I can't. That's 2 hours away from me. So I sort of call my mom and I like task her with that. Like, you need to get a hold of that sister that's across the state. I need to get a hold of this sister that's right here. And that's the sister that was the closest to Melinda. So I'm very worried about her reaction when she finds out. Unfortunately, she did wake up and she chose to call my grandfather first.
Okay, so your grandfather relays that to the middle sister, let's call her.
Okay.
Middle sister, and she obviously eventually calls you back, I would assume, or shows up.
Yeah, so she, I actually believe it was her wife who called me.
Okay.
And I was like, just get here now, like, please drive so slow. I know, like, I just retained to this information. They're retaining this information. I can't imagine the state that she's in, and now she's going to get into a car and drive to my house. So please, like, take it very slow, get here, like, just try not to think about it until you're here, basically, is what I was trying to say. By that time, she had already spoken to my paternal grandfather, who had already spoken to my father. And my sister was on a three-way sort of call, was on speaker on a phone, and my father was on speaker on a phone in the same room. So they were sort of on a three-way call. And I don't know all the details, and this is like her part of the story to tell.
Sure.
But I just know that she got a phone number for my father, and at that point had showed up to my house. Again, there's a lot of like missing blanks, but now she's at my house. I have this phone number, and I call it. And my father picks up.
And
I say,
what the flying fuck?
What is going on? And he pitches the same, your sister died in a bicycle accident. And I said, I don't want to hear that. I need to know where she is. And he said, well, she's dead. And I said, no, I get that, but where is she? Because I don't even know where they live. I don't have an address.
Yeah, so you mean like, is she at the hospital? Is she in the police car? Is she at your house? Where? Yeah,
Right,
where is she?
right.
Yeah.
So his choice of words were somewhere in Chester County.
Okay.
So I Google the coroner's office.
Yeah,
for
like
Chester
any
County.
logical person would do. You're
Correct.
smart.
So I get a hold of someone. They're 24/7, and I say, hey, I have no idea what's going on, but you have my little sister. And she kind of paused, and I was like, okay, you don't have to tell me any details, but I need to make sure that she's with you and you have my name and number. And she was like, yeah, she's here. We don't have any contact information. We don't have any relatives. I said, well, here I am. This is my number. This is my name. I'll call you back. You have my number if something happens. What do I do now? And she said, well, I would call the Chester County Sheriff's Office or the detectives. And I said, okay.
Yeah. And I imagine in much easier to tell now. I mean, still not easy, but in that moment, I think your worst nightmare comes true because you already knew about Cindy. You already had the hairs on the back of your neck sticking up. You're on the phone with Dad, who you haven't talked to in 4 years. And now some independent lady from the coroner's office is telling you, you should call the sheriff's department.
Right. And now, I am distanced from my youngest sister.
Sure.
But I also, just like my other sisters, hold this role of like, okay, now I'm her only protector. I know my dad was very close to this situation, and now there's an ongoing investigation that the coroner's not really trying to touch with me. And from my understanding, Biomom's not in the picture. So now it's me. I'm the oldest of these 4 girls. I have 1 who is no longer here, and 2 that I'm trying to like
rally. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and now they're dealing with emotions that I can't really help. Like, they have to go through these emotions. So I'm playing detective, I'm playing caretaker, I'm playing all these roles, and I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. So Dad tells you this bike story, you're like, bullshit, especially probably after the coroner pauses and tells you to call the sheriff's department. Do you ever call Dad back, or do you get, I know you get contacted by detectives eventually, but when do you find out the truth?
So I called the detectives instantly, and I found out that, unfortunately for the general public, they only operate 8 to 4. So I'm now sitting there. This is still the very early of the morning, and I'm trying to get a hold of them. Their office is still closed. I finally get a hold of somebody, and they're like, yeah, there's an assigned detective to this case. And I'm like, okay, we're already this far. Like, the picture is much bigger than what I'm led to believe. And maybe 2 hours later, I get a call from this detective, and he's like, we're going to need to sit down. And I was like, okay, whatever it is, whatever we have to do, we'll do it. I don't know if I can go here, but on that day, we drove down to Chester County. But at that point, my sister who lives across the state was already there. So she drove
to Chester.
No, she drove to me. So I had both of my sisters. We got into a car with our significant others, and we drove down to Chester County. Had absolutely zero idea of what we were driving to, but we had an address, and that's where we were going.
And I'm sure there's 6 of you in that car, I would assume.
There's 5 of us.
5. And you're driving, it's an hour and a half without traffic, roughly-ish, from where we live. And is it I'm just curious, is it quiet, or is it bouncing ideas like, what the fuck? What about this? What about this? Or is it crying? Or is
It's all of it.
all of it? Okay.
It's all of it. We all sat there, and one would just start scream crying.
Yep.
And we would all, like, comfort that one, and then the next one would fall. And then we would just ride through it. Like, and of course there were, like, well, this could have happened, this could have happened, you know. But then there was a lot of, like, don't even talk about it. We don't know what is happening. We're traveling down streets we've never even seen before. We're like...
Yeah. And so you get, and we don't want to talk about what you said with the detective, but you meet with the detective, and is it in that room that you find out some idea of what's going on? Like, that there was no bike accident.
Yes and no, because so we were all separately interrogated.
Yeah.
We were taken into a room with a detective and another detective on recording, and were asked questions, and they were very kind. It was not, I mean, it was intimidating, but it was very, like, gentle. They knew they were dealing with siblings that had absolutely no idea what was happening, and at that point they wouldn't tell us anything. And because I am the person I am, I'm going to ask you questions that I'll piece together the answers to. You're not going to tell me directly, but I'm going to pretty much.
Yeah.
And I had a sort of off-the-record conversation with one of them, and I said, listen, this is the image that you're painting in my head. And he said, you're not far off. And I knew at that point things were a lot darker than what we knew. And I knew that the mental state that both my father and Cindy must be in, that this was kind of like a ticking time bomb. We were kind of on a race against time because neither one of them were in custody yet. They were still in their home. They were still out and about. And one thing that I really held close to me was that detective told me, you know, we're working around the clock and we're not going to take one without the other. So he said, we can pull the trigger on one, but we don't have enough to do the other yet. And I said, sir, respectfully, there are weapons in that home, and I don't trust the mental state of either one of them. So if we could speed this up, please. When I was in my interrogation, my father called me. So I came out of that room and had a missed call and a voicemail, who in my father's tone said, hey, it's Dad, give me a call. And I thought, you have to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. I call him back, and he's telling me that he's on devices that they didn't take. You know, he's telling me the sob story. Detectives came through the house. They ransacked everything. They took all of his stuff. How could this happen? And I'm like, pump the brakes. I know they ran through your house and took all of your stuff, but they told me they took all of your stuff. Now you're telling me that you're on a computer. So I'm like, oh God, Dad, I don't know. I got to call you back. I'm getting a call. I hang up, and I'm calling these detectives. I'm like, yo, they're on stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And he's like, all right. Ends the phone call. The next morning, I get a phone call, like maybe 10 after 8, and said, we got them both.
So Cindy and Dad get arrested. And for those of you who don't know the full story, they are arrested for murdering Malinda Hoagland, and they are charging the death penalty because of the amount of torture and abuse that this child has gone through. I have chills on my arms right now by saying that out loud. They are still awaiting their criminal trial. We have been doing this since, well, not me, but Emily and her family has been doing this since May of 2024. So after they get arrested, there's sort of this pause of life, not life, but
Well, so they get arrested, and it's like sort of a relief that like at least they're arrested. And I'm my fear at that point was we're never going to know the full story if we don't have both of them.
sure.
And then later that day that I got a call that they were arrested, I got a call, and it was a different detective through Chester County who said, hey, we're about to do a press release with the details, and we want to tell the family first. So that is when I first learned the extent of what had gone on. And here I am again. The world is about to find out what we're going through. Everyone needs to get to my living room right now.
So did that occur?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, when we talk about, you know, you're about to see it on the big screen, you find out 5 minutes before it's on national television. And just so everyone knows, this case is national. It is international. In fact, if you Google the name Malinda Hoagland, like, it will be on every single news channel. You will see me and Emily. You will see the other sisters. You will see lawsuits. You will see a slew of things. But so you watch this with your family, which, like, again, you find out the information 5 minutes before, so it's like watching it again. And you find out that she was starved, forced to do exercises, hold books above her head, shackled to desks, air hockey tables, called bitch, whore, stupid, every ugly, every name in the book. And I don't know, do we find out, maybe you do, but I know I specifically remember reading in the criminal complaint when we got our hands on that about the videos. Or did you know that?
I knew that there was some video evidence, but not to the extent, not until we got our hands on that criminal complaint did I know we're talking hours and days of video.
Yeah, so to make this worse, if it could even get worse, when Emily and I and the rest of the legal team get our hands on what we call a criminal complaint, which is the charging document that details a Cliff Note version of what somebody's charged with. Actually, this one was quite lengthy. Normally, they're not that lengthy, but actually threw up reading it. I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Find out there's like 400 and some odd numbered videos of them filming the abuse of this poor little girl. In addition, there's text messages between father and Cindy about basically, I hate to say this, but planning the abuse. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it.
Yeah.
And it is stomach turning. I mean, it is absolutely horrid. And to point, 53 pounds, 58, 50, 52. Something.
I'm sorry, that number is like slipping, but very.
She was approximately 52-ish, don't quote us, guys, pounds at the time of her death at 12 years old. Okay? So put that in perspective.
Yeah, and she had weighed like 87 a year before that.
Yeah. So the criminal complaint pulls some of the medical records. And so we were able to look at that. And she hadn't been to the doctor. She hadn't been to the dentist. Obviously, somebody would see this if they knew. And also, for those of you wondering, she was pulled out of school. So Cindy and Dad pulled her out of school, allegedly because she was hiding food in her locker. And the school, during a parent-teacher conference, alerted Dad to that. And he got pissed off and pulled her out and put her in cyber school. Now, she was logging on, allegedly. We don't have too much info yet on that, but logging onto cyber school. We don't know if the camera was on or off. I would assume if it was on, but they had her shackled. I don't know, you're looking at a Zoom camera. I don't know. Could they see her feet? Probably not, right? So
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, so we get the criminal complaint. We go to a presser up there, you and I, and your family go to a presser up there when they announced the death penalty.
Yeah.
Against them. And the reason for it is because of the days, hours, weeks, months, years of abuse that have been endured on this child. And I just want you guys to know it's not just the physical abuse on Melinda. Yes, that's bad. That's horrible. I mean, sleeping on the floor with no blanket and being shackled and hold books above her head and do 20 million jumping jacks. But it's also the psychological abuse that they did to her. Like, for example, I remember distinctly reading in the criminal complaint that they would order DoorDash for themselves and the other child that was in the home and eat in front of her. And, like, of course she's hungry. I mean, she hasn't eaten in God knows how long.
Yeah.
And it's like, that will really fuck somebody's head up.
Right.
And she's 12. Like, I don't know. But
yeah, I remember, to add to your point of, like, it just eating in front of her and, like, really breaking her down mentally. I had noticed, I was in the home. I was in the home when it was considered an active crime scene, and then I was in the home when it was not. And one thing that really stood out to me was this place is really immaculate. I could literally eat off the floor. Like, this just almost, like, seems like a scrubbed crime scene. I don't know what's happening here. And I had said that when we went down for the press conference, because after the press conference that we were there for, we then met with Chester County and some individuals from Chester County. And that just something that really, like, rubbed me the wrong way and really stayed with me. So I said something to them, and I was like, they're preaching to me, you would have had no idea, da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know. I was in the home. Like, it was crazy clean. And they just kind of looked at me, and I was like, did my sister do that? And they were like, yeah, she ran the house. Like, she pretty much was the maid there.
And it's crazy because there was another child in that home. And that was Cindy's child, for all of those wondering. And he, to our knowledge, was not physically abused. But I would venture to say, this is just my opinion, I think you would agree with me, that him watching Melinda be abused was abuse in itself.
100%.
And that he, by the way, guys, he's safe with family, but he now has to live with that trauma.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And watching his, they're not married, so I can't even say stepsister, but whatever, a sibling figure, and his mother, there's an inherent bond between a child and a parent, is in prison for the death penalty, which he will never see her again. I don't know anything about his father.
His father is not Earthside.
Okay, his father is not here. So he's with family. So he has now lost essentially both his parents and a sibling figure that I'm sure he loved. I mean, kids love each other. I'm sure at some point maybe they played or...
Yeah, no, to my understanding, they had a really good bond, and like you had noted, he's now lost mom, he's now lost dad, but from what I can see, has also found a dad in my dad, who he's now lost. So I can't imagine what this child goes through. I can't imagine what it is he has to comes to terms with and work through, and I really pray for him
for the rest of his life.
100%.
But thank God, I mean, I'm not saying at the hands of your sister, but thank God he is removed and okay and safe, and he's going to have to work through that for the next 100 years, obviously. Okay, so we do the presser. Obviously, you and I go, your family goes. They announce the death penalty. And then we're sort of on limbo criminal-wise because it's our understanding that they will be picking a jury trial and doing a trial by jury where 12 people will have to find them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And then if they do get a conviction, then there will be a second jury trial to find if they are put to death. That is our understanding of what's happening in the criminal trial, guys. That's still pending. It's been pending. Both Emily and I and the rest of Emily's family, I assume, will be in attendance for, I'm assuming, at least a 2-week trial. I don't know.
It's crazy.
But it will be brutal. And I'm sure they will play 400 and something videos of this, which I part of me almost, and again, you could talk about this, and it's not me. I'm selfishly in this. Part of me almost wants them to take a plea in the sense that I don't want to. I know you do, but I don't want to watch. I will have a hard time watching Melinda be abused, and I'm not saying you won't. And it's like, just fall on your fucking sword already. Right. Like, just shut the fuck up, fall on your sword, do prison or death. You're done. Like, we're done here. Right. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like you are the kind of person, you speak for yourself, but you want to, like, see the full picture.
Yeah, so I don't want that to sound, like, morbid. Like, I'm not here, like, oh, I want to see my sister abused.
Oh, of
like,
course.
But I think a lot of people struggle with the fact that, like, okay, this is my sister, and this alleged for all legal sense.
Yeah.
This is what happened to her, but this is my dad. So I'm looking at these detectives, I'm looking at these prosecutors, I'm looking at all these people, and they're like, your dad did this. And it's kind of like, I need to see it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, I dread the day.
Oh, I know.
That
I'll be right there.
Will watch or be exposed to, or even, like, them pulling something out of an evidence bag. Like, this is, like...
her shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like...
it's not going to be fun.
No, it's not. But I think it's something that needs to happen.
And you might need that. And again, I'm not trying to put myself in for closure.
Yeah. That's where I was getting. Like, I'm one of 3 surviving sisters, and we all need a little different piece of something. But I think, speaking for myself, that's something I need. I've since this day, I've been front and center at everything. I need to see everything. I want to be involved in everything that's filed, everything that, and that's a piece I need. I
know. I obviously deal with you all the time. I know how you are. So for me, it's easy to project what you need, because when we communicate, it's very much like, hey, Allie, can you send me this? Hey, Allie, can you forward this to me? Hey, Allie, can you help me with this? Hey, Allie, what does this mean on the docket? Hey, Allie, do you think very, very involved? Like, you want me to answer your questions. You want to get on a call. You're very proactive. Hey, explain this to me in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Some of your other sisters are not like that, which is okay. And that may be a trauma response or just how they are personality. But you and I are very similar in the sense that we're forward, outgoing, front. I'm here, bitch.
Right.
Explain it to me.
And that's how a lot of it has felt through this entire thing, is like, I will just show up. I mean, for the press conference.
Yep.
I will, the criminal affidavit, we didn't get that until I literally was in the office of Chester County, and I was like, all right, where is it?
Yes, you and I are very similar in that aspect. We're not stopping. Give it to me.
Right.
So, the criminal trial, is upcoming. I don't know. What's the docket say these days?
There actually is no trial date on the docket again, so I'm going to project that there's going to be a new one in roughly 90 days, and they're going to go to, like, a status call. Well, they'll be like, no, we're not ready. Judge will grant it. At this point, we've continued this trial probably 13 times, and I want to say like 7 on defense side and like 5 or 6 on the Commonwealth side. But like, pull the trigger.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I know the evidence in the sense that, like, the videos and all that is overwhelmingly a lot to go through, but it should go. I mean, what are we in? End of 2025? I would say by 2026 we should go. I mean, they told us The beginning of 20.
Originally, they told us the end of 2025.
And then they said the beginning of 2026, correct? So it should go soon, but so we will be going to that, at least us two, for sure. I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I know your family will be there, so we'll be doing that. So that's the criminal end of it. From the civil end, so I am Emily's family's lawyer for the civil end. So many of you are probably wondering how this is a civil case. And to give you a cliff note it's an active litigation, guys, so I can't say too much. But to give you a cliff note is we have sued the people that could have and would have stopped the abuse on Melinda. For example, the school district, for example, children and youth. Why they weren't alerted. So you guys should know, and I think, Emily, you should tell this if you can, that children and youth was contacted by somebody about Melinda's well-being. And they apparently had called Dad to get an interview or explain it, and Dad milked that away, shall we say.
Yeah, so to my understanding, there were 2 referral calls. The first one was just a phone call to my father where he was like, oh, she got injured. I don't remember exactly how that time, but that was the second time when they had called Cindy, who's not even a on the record guardian or parent of, and said that there was a referral call. And she was like, oh, they were playing on the trampoline and she got hurt. And like, that was it. Case closed.
Yeah, so our argument for the civil case, there's a lot of them, but one specific one that the world should know is there is a requirement that when there's a CPS referral that you interview, mom, dad, child, the doctor's office, blah, 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 whoever's involved. But there also is a requirement that there's a home visit, which means you open the door and go in. If they would have gone to the home of Dad and Cindy, maybe they would have pulled the cameras at a minimum, right? Because there's a million bajillion cameras. Or maybe they would have seen Melinda's physical state at 50 pounds. Or maybe that there's no food in the fridge. I don't know, because Cindy and your dad are not skinny. Like, I'm not trying to be an ass.
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't think that there was ever a time where there wasn't food. The food was locked.
That's right.
And going to the home, there was food in not the kitchen. So there was obviously food being hidden from her. There was food in areas of the home that she probably wouldn't have been welcomed in. But I mean, pull the cameras, pull whatever, but how about you just look at the 12-year-old who is covered with bruises to the point where they pulled her out of school because they couldn't cover them anymore.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, like, about this charter cyber school. I am so interested to know, and we don't have it yet because of criminal case, but so is when Melinda is on Zoom, like you and I, like, is she wearing a hoodie? Is she, like, because I can't imagine, kids are resilient, and I'm not saying Melinda wasn't, but if she's shackled and beaten and starved, right, and she's learning about 2 + 2, she's way above that, but 2 + 2 = 4 or whatever, is she smiling? Like, I think maybe she may be because she's a child and, she's a beautiful soul, but it's like, don't you feel something's off there? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there were bruises, like the coroner's report, there were like broken stuff. So how do you not see a black and blue eye, rug rash on her face? Like, this is the reason why she wasn't in brick and mortar school, is because they couldn't hide this. So what did you see?
Yeah, and do they require the camera on? That's the other thing, because in another similar case, I know you know what I'm talking about, but we were doing an interview and we were talking about how they should require for the cyber school shit, it's not shit, but the cyber school stuff, that like a once a month random physical check on the child?
Well, Allie,
I know.
there is a requirement. I don't know how much that is enforced, but I, as we've touched on my personality, have had conversations with people who have their kids in cyber school and who have their kids in the same cyber school my sister was enrolled in. And they do have a day that a nurse is supposed to lay eyes on them. Is it a requirement to show up? I don't know. What happens if you don't show up? I mean, who is laying eyes on these kids?
Well,
who
yeah,
is
that's the
watching these kids' safeties? And like, you can put your kid in cyber school for many different reasons,
Sure.
and that's fine. That's fine, but it's being used so much to mask what goes on in your home. You know, I send my children to brick and mortar school, so they're talking to, I don't know, 15 adults a day who are all mandated reporters. And if something, you know, was on my child or any child, I would hope that they would be like, hey, what happened to your eye? Why do you have a broken arm? Go through a slew of things. Nobody's doing this to these children at home.
No, and unfortunately, the people who abuse children, it's a playground for them because you don't gotta leave. You're in your living room or your kitchen or the bedroom or whatever. And I don't know, and I don't know if you know, but do they, like, when you go to brick and mortar, you have to, like, you get your shots and you submit the shot record. I remember doing this when I was a kid. My mom's like, we got to get your physical because we got to send it to the school. Do they require that to be enrolled in cyber school? Because I'm only saying this because your sister's case and another case that I know you know what I'm talking about, they were not seen at the doctor, right? So therefore, they didn't have their vaccines or their physicals or da, 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 da. So how do they get enrolled in school? But right. I guess they don't need it?
No, from my understanding, they don't need it. But specifically in my sister's case, she was taken to multiple different schools. She was withdrawn from probably 5 schools before her death. And, I mean, reasons vary from moving and da-da-da-da-da. But when my father took her out of school and enrolled her in a new school, I feel like at that point that should be a checkpoint where we're checking the child's, you know, whether you require a whole nother physical or a physical that's been done in the last 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And it's like, don't you think so if I move to Alaska, for example, and my kid's in school, they're going to get the records from the Lehigh Valley and transfer my kids, you know, the report card, the vaccine records, the parents, the emergency contacts. But I guess when you go to online school because you're not around other kids or whatever, I guess the vaccine requirement and the physical requirement is not required. But to me, that's a huge failure.
Yeah.
Huge. Because, okay, great, maybe you don't want your kid to have vaccines, that's your own prerogative, but a independent medical person needs to lay eyes on this child. I mean, think about how many times you would take your kid to a physical and they would notice something, not abuse, just like random, like, oh, your kid might be getting diabetes or has eczema on their feet or something that you didn't even think of because the kid didn't mention it. Right. And it's like, here, take some medicine or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like, it's crazy to me because not only your sister's case, but many other cases that we see, parents do not take their kids to the doctor. No. It's like not a thing. And I'm like, I have a very young child who has to go every few months because she's so little, but it's like, what do you, like, we grew up, and I'm sure you did too, it's like, you're sick, we're going to the doctor. You start a new school year, we're going to the doctor. You want to play football, we have to go to the doctor. Like,
yeah.
That was normal.
Yeah, and these kids are going years without being seen by a medical professional.
Yeah, and which is a problem.
Yeah.
And the cyber school is great for kids, in my opinion, for certain things for certain kids, right? I am not judging if your kid's in cyber school. That's fine. It may be better for them. You know, some kids have social anxiety or they have a need. For example, I have a child right now who has cancer, and she can't go to school because she has to go to chemo all the time. So she does it, you know, cyber, which, okay, that's great. That's wonderful. But there has to be some sort of
check and balance.
Yeah, because it's just a free fucking for all. And kids are dying.
Mm-hmm. Kids are dying. Kids are literally dying. I think it's really interesting. In Pennsylvania, at least, you can look up those reports. You can pull the reports, and Allie, being the relationship that we have, I've sent them to you.
I have them.
I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't hide the referrals that have been checked on, the referrals that have not been checked on, the kids that have been close to death, the kids that have died from death. Kids are dying. Classrooms full of kids are dying. What are we doing?
I don't know. And now, I don't know if I sent this to you, but you've seen the CPS budget.
Yeah.
We have no budget for CPS right now.
And whether it's understaffed, underfunded,
Sure. All of it.
it is. It's a little of all of it.
Yeah.
But, like, this is our future. These are our kids. These are our future government officials. These are our future teachers. These are our future
police officers.
Cart pushers.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
These are our babies that are just
Our world
dropping.
is in a massive crisis with children. I mean, it's every other day. Obviously, you follow me on social media, but you see I'm on TikTok every other day saying, this person killed this kid. This person killed this kid. This person put kid in a tote. This person unalived this kid. I mean, it's and I'm just talking about Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
It's every 5 seconds, and it's just like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, so the civil suit is in progress. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's an active litigation. But once it's all over, we will have the Lees and Hoaglands back, and we can do a big party and podcast about that. And then also, because of the trauma that these girls have gone through, their sisters, and because of their sister, they have created a nonprofit. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So we have a nonprofit where we are trying to push just the awareness of child abuse. Child abuse could happen. It could literally be anywhere. Your neighbor that you think is so kind, like, something could be going on. And I would like to think that our goal is to target, not only the child who may be abused, who may not know how to report it, who may be mentally, warped to think that this is okay or whatever, but also that adult, that adult is struggling with things. We have so many broken systems, so many broken, ways to, I don't want to say solve, because it's not really a problem to solve, but to cushion that we're lacking support for these people. And it's kind of a daunting subject. We've shown up to fairs, we show up to back to school things, we show up to everything and have a table, and it's sometimes a conversation that people aren't ready to have, but unfortunately we're having these conversations when it's too late. So to bring it to the forefront of everyone's mind and resources is the goal of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so their nonprofit is Justice for Melinda.
Justice for Melinda.
Facebook,
Instagram. There is a TikTok.
I'll have them link it in the bio, so you can everyone can follow, and they have merch.
We have merch. We are literally at any event. We bring the pinwheels are the national symbol of child abuse. Just trying to bring the joy and awareness. I mean, there's not much joy with child abuse, but if we stop it at the beginning, it can be a friendly conversation.
Yeah, and the whole thing is the girls, and I'm speaking for them, but I think they would agree with me. They don't want another Melinda.
No.
Ever.
Right. And that is the purpose of. Now, the organization ourselves, we're bringing awareness and doing such, but on behalf of the Sisters of Melinda, we're trying to push for much larger change. One of her abusers, that was Cindy, was a prior abuser. And like we say that they can pull kids in and out and they put kids in cyber school, this is sort of a cat and mouse game for them. And they're jumping counties, they're jumping states, and having more and more offenses, I guess, and they're just going undetected. And one of our major goals as the sisters is to try to not ever have another Melinda. So to have a database where we can not necessarily track, but also
alert. Yeah.
the general public and the first responders and people who are supposed to be
Responding.
Thank you. Responding to a referral call or something. You know, they can see, oh, this person in 4 counties away did this exact same thing 5 years ago.
Yeah, so similar to my Pennsylvania people, Megan's Law for sexual offenders, Emily is describing what they're looking for, similar to that for physical offenders and or any child abuse offender.
Right. Yeah, you and I, anyone in the general public can pull up Megan's Law. I think you should be able to also pull up a physical abuser.
Yeah, and that is one of the many systematic changes that we are pushing for in the civil lawsuit. The civil lawsuit, to be clear, is not to hold people. It is to hold people accountable for money. That is 100% part of it. I'm not going to lie. But the bigger thing is to change the system, right? We've had conversations with Governor Shapiro. We've been contacted by every news outlet. We've been contacted by our local congressmen and women. I mean, there was a very similar case to this in Bucks County a few years back where they were trying to do exactly what you guys are trying to do, but somehow it lost funding, fell through the cracks. I'm not really sure what happened, but this needs to be at the forefront of people's minds. So we are working on that, and there will be more. I mean, we will probably do another episode or multiple because this case is ever changing due to the multiple components of it, civil, criminal, nonprofits, ongoing, basically. So, but that is the story of Malinda Hoagland. Like I said, guys, if you want to Google her name, you will find multiple news articles. Check out Emily and her sister's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Justice for Malinda Hoagland. I will link it below. Give them a follow. And then we will keep you updated on this case. You will probably see some of us in the news in the near future, I'm sure, when we go to the criminal case. And just keep everyone in your thoughts and prayers regarding this case. We have a hard road ahead in the sense that we will be seeing and hearing things that are very difficult. And we ask for your prayers during that. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.